And good morning. It is Wednesday, October 14th, 9:30 a.m., and it is the first day of in-person voting. For all the latest on how you can vote, the different ways you can vote, where you can vote, vote.sos.ri.gov or vote.ri.gov, and you can find all the information there. This week, we are diving into the Middletown Town Council race as well as the Newport School Committee race. And this guy certainly knows enough about the Newport School Committee because he is the current chairperson, and he is Ray Gomes. And good morning, Ray.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well.
And, well, it's election season. How exciting is it?
Pretty exciting. I don't know how much around here, but it's pretty exciting. A lot of stuff going on.
Well, I always have to do this with incumbents and, every candidate. There are people that have just moved to town. There are people that are voting for the first time. Obviously, you're already on Newport School Committee, but give us a little background in case somebody out there doesn't know who Ray Gomes is.
Yeah, well, so I'm running this will be my third term. I've been on for 4 years now in the school committee. I first ran in 2016, was reelected in 2018, and first 2 years I served as vice chair to current chair, then chair Dave Hanos, and then I was elected chair 2 years ago. I had 5 kids that all went through Newport Public Schools, and as they were getting older and moving on, I decided to throw my name in the hat and run for school committee and give back to the community. So that's what I did. So I'm excited. I've felt that I've brought good collaborative effort to the school committee. I think one of my attributes is I like to listen to people, take their advice, and apply it to what we're working on. So that's one of my strengths, I think.
What made you say, you know what, my job isn't done, and make the decision to seek re-election?
Well, some kind of crazy way. I like doing it. So I'm enjoying it. Haven't had enough yet, so I decided to run for re-election. There's several things. Obviously, the school bond is on. We've worked over 2 years to get that to this point, and felt like it was necessary to run again and get that. Hopefully, that's approved in a month, and we move forward. And several other issues. I think we've done a good job with the city as far as proving our finances to the city and more transparency with the city and working on the budget and better understanding of how we spend our money and what we spend it on with the city. And I think those are, so I just wanted to continue that work and thought I'd give it 2 more years.
And we're going to spend a minute on the school bond in a second, but, some of the things that you're proud of that you've accomplished, or that you've been a part of accomplishing, because I know it's not one individual person, it is a committee. Some of the things you're proud of over the last couple of years since you've been on.
Well, let's see. So one of them would be what I just said. I think we've done a good job working with the city to improve their understanding and how we spend our money and getting them to approve budgets. We always tend to ask. There's this big game. We ask for a lot of money. They give us somewhere between zero and what we're asking for. So I think better transparency with the city, working with the city hand in hand. They understand our finances. I think we've done a good job with our employees and our staff, better communications with the parents and community. And so I think just more transparency and more communication with our staff, our parents, our community. I'd say those are, what I'm most proud of.
You have had a vested interest in Newport Public Schools. You had 5 kids, as you mentioned, go through them. You are currently the chair of Newport School Committee. You've been there 3 terms, as you mentioned. How did we get to where we are with the school bond question? How did we get to a place where now all of a sudden it's the biggest issue and there's people for it, there's people against it, the schools, conditions? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think we've gotten there. It's like everything else. In Newport, it started almost 15 years ago, 20 years ago with Thompson, and then it moved into the elementary school. These school buildings were built, some of them, Rogers is 60 years old roughly, and some of them were 100 years old when they were replaced. And they're solid buildings, but they were built 100 years ago as a school, and learning, like everything else, has a natural, the size increases, they learn differently, technology. So I think the schools, and then there's the maintenance issue that, Rogers was sort of built as what's been kind of termed as a California campus style of school, outdoor spaces and corridors that link the various hubs of the school. And as we've learned over 60 years, that's not the most conducive travel. And, we're heating a lot of empty space that's used as corridors at Rogers. So the time had come to the school has deteriorated to a point that, prolonged or maintenance would be, $50 or $60 million to bring the school back to good condition. So we spent the last 2 years, we studied alternatives. We've looked at other locations within the city and basically come back to Rogers High School is the only area in town that the city still owns the land, controls the land, and made the most sense to build a new school there. And we were able to develop a plan that allowed for the current school to stay in use while the new school is built, and then be torn down and be part of the open space that'll be part of the new school. So that's kind of how we've gotten to where we are today.
And I assume besides filling in the dot next to your name for Newport School Committee, you want people to flip that ballot over and fill in approve on question number 2. Why should Newport voters support question number 2?
Well, listen, there's a lot of opinions out there, like everything else. I think there's a few. The one biggest reason I think is that we have qualified or will qualify for 52.5% reimbursement from the state of Rhode Island. That's a big thing in this day and age. 2 years ago when we started this, and the state sort of put those incentives in to encourage communities like Newport to build newer schools. It was pre-COVID, and we didn't know what we knew now about where the economy would be. So it's important because I think the state has offered those incentives. The state has guaranteed those incentives moving forward when the bond's approved. And I think it's a big deal. And that's a big incentive. I don't think you'll see those come out of the state for the next 5, maybe 10 years, given the economics of the COVID era that we're living through. So that's one big one. I think that we've done our due diligence. We've designed preliminary design of a school that's got the best interests of the Newport kids in mind and the students that come from other communities to do the career technical training at Rogers. And so I think that's the biggie there.
Oh, Ray, you froze up here. Oh, there you are. Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
That's all right. You froze up for a minute.
Oh, sorry. So that's the big one, I think. It's just purely the state co-share of it, and the fact that the state's taking on 52.5%, that leaves us with the 47.5%. And we've gone through and with the help of the city, proven that it's an affordable burden to the city. It's, there's a lot of information out there. It's going to be about after the tax increases that are necessary to fulfill the bond obligations once it's approved. It would be costing the average taxpayer $156. I'm not saying the average taxpayer. The information is on a home assessed at $400,000, you would be paying $156 a year after the 3 years of increases necessary to pay off the bond. So I think we've come up with a solution that's affordable to the taxpayers of Newport, and there's a lot of benefits in there to approve it at this time and move forward.
Lots of regionalization talk, unification talks. Where do you come down on that?
Listen, we're all familiar with that. As you mentioned and I mentioned, I had 5 kids that went through. I think when my oldest son was in kindergarten, we were talking about regionalization 25 years ago. It's always been on the table. It's been discussed. We looked at it. It's well documented that we went to Middletown and Portsmouth. Middletown clearly wasn't interested in talking to us at this time. Portsmouth basically said that they weren't interested in regionalization, but they would, talk about taking some of our students. So regionalization, I support regionalization. I think it's The only way we're going to be able to afford education going forward is that we need to really consider regionalization as costs go up in each town and city bears the brunt of a good education and financially. But we've talked about it, and the only option we have on the table right now is to build a new high school for our students and move forward. We can continue the talks of regionalization. We'll have a brand new school to put in the offer. We have currently Rogers is a career CTE school for the county. We have 8 different communities that send students to Rogers for career training. So I think we'd offer that. We'd have a new building on the table, and the talks can move forward. Just because we build a new high school doesn't mean regionalization talks can't be discussed, brought up, and fruitful to us in the future. But it's not an option on the table right now. We've explored it, and we have to act on the option we have now. Just like Rogers, the location, there's no other buildable area in Newport. Rogers is the property we own, the city owns it, and we can move right ahead once the bond's approved.
We'd be fooling ourselves and everybody else watching if we thought that the school bond was the only priority and top issue in Newport schools as well as in the city of Newport. What other priorities, issues do you see or improvements do you see that can be done, Newport School Committee?
Well, Newport's a dynamic community. It's ever changing. Just in my time alone on the school committee, we've our English language learner population has almost doubled. It was 16% of our population when I first got on the school committee 4 years ago, and we're up into the mid-30s to high 30s now as far as English language learners. We need to continue to work on providing bilingual, where we can. There's a lot of talk in the community. Believe me, we would love nothing more than to be hiring bilingual teachers and multilingual teachers, but it's easy to say, but when you go out and you try to find these teachers, they're not out there. They're at a premium, and that's why I think you hear everybody all over the community, all over the country. You'll find that communities are looking for bilingual educators. I've had some talks and some thoughts with people that maybe we start our own. We take our community and we kind of home grow our own bilingual teachers, maybe get a program with Salve or other community or the colleges that offer education programs, and begin our own program that we take students that come out of our community, they go to school, some type of incentive to encourage them to do it, and then they come back into the community. But I think increasing ELL population, and again, it goes right into racial inequity that is everywhere today too. Once again, we'd like nothing more than to be hiring teachers that look like our students. The simple fact is they're not there for a lot of reasons. And, again, let's talk about doing some kind of a homegrown where we take our students from our school, send them off, they become educators, and they come back and they educate our children. But I think those are the other big issues that we face, and finances is always a big one too. So,
since I have you, with COVID, how's back to school going?
That's going pretty well. We were one of the, there's several communities across Rhode Island. We worked very hard. We brought a lot of experts in. We did a lot of engineering studies. We worked very closely with our union, TAN, the Teachers Association of Newport. We worked hand in hand with them in developing plans that not only did they feel safe, but that parents would feel safe putting their children back in school to varying degrees. We were lucky. Some parents did opt out and decide to do distance learning or keep their kids home rather than send them in for full in-person learning. Again, like we talked about, we have newer buildings, but we're still not as large as some communities. So most of our classrooms from Pell to Thompson to Rogers can hold anywhere from 15 to 16, 17 kids, given the guidelines. So most of that has been, most of those classes are full with students that have come back for full in-person learning. It's going pretty well. We've had, knock on wood, as we said last night, we've had some probable cases, but they've been ruled out with testing. So knock on wood, we've been lucky, been able to keep our staff and our students healthy, and it's going pretty well. And we look forward to working to keep it going through the winter, and get as many kids back in school as we can.
Excellent. Ray, is there anything that we missed today? Any issues, topics, anything else that you would want to bring up?
No, I think it's important. The big one for me is obviously to get people out to vote. Your vote. This is your time. I can't tell you how many times over the course of a year I get a phone call or get into a conversation with somebody, and somehow it comes up. They kind of tell you, well, I didn't vote or I don't vote. It's your time. It's your option. It's your obligation to go out and vote, express your opinion, make your feelings known. I'd encourage people to get out and vote. There's many options, as we all know. You can get a mail ballot. You can do it in person. You can early vote, as you said earlier, starting today. So I encourage people to vote. Hopefully they get out and approve the bond, support the bond. Again, the bond is critical. I think we're at a critical time, and I encourage people to look at the information and make their choice for themselves. I'd hope they'd approve it. There's a couple of websites. The Newport Public School website has a lot of facts on it about the bond. The buildingnewportsfuture.org is another website that has a lot of information for the bond. So I'd encourage people to be informed, read up on the information, find out the facts for yourself, and get out and vote on November 3rd. And
you just brought up a good point, and in no way is this an editorial, but on all issues from national to local, it's important when you're reading something to pick up on what's factual and what's an opinion, and then also look to make sure that, if it comes off as a fact, that it's not being spun a certain way. And I encourage everybody to, you do this every 2 years, invest the time, look into the issues, look into question 1, question 2 in Newport, look into the candidates, and look for those facts. Try to stay away from those opinions, and look at each candidate and each question on the ballot, and try to make the most informed vote that you can.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's great. It's out there. You got to go find the information and find it out for yourself. Don't listen to what you might hear as fact. Go and prove it yourself, and develop your own opinion, and get out and vote.
All right, Ray. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to spend a couple of minutes with us this morning.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. He is Ray Gomes, chairperson for Newport School Committee, seeking re-election on Newport School Committee. And he will be on that November 3rd ballot that some folks are already filling out. And he is also asking you to support question number 2 in Newport, which is the school bond question. All right. That's going to do it for us on this edition. We'll be back later.